glad that Hurricane Earl hasn't visited us early, so we're standing here in the rain, and you can see where we are in all its glory. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. We're standing actually on the cusp of Ward 4 and Ward 5, and I want to thank our Ward 5 City Councilor Joe Salamito for being here today. He's been a big advocate of this ward and of this project. We're standing at one side of the Scott Road Bridge. Scott Road Bridge was built in 1920, so it's very old. It spans Tallulah Brook, but it was damaged beyond repair by flooding in 2007. So it's been closed to traffic ever since, about 3 years. This serves as a connector between Ashby State Road, which is Route 31, a very busy road, and Ringe Road, another busy road. It provides access to Sima Park, which is a wonderful destination for a lot of cultural and community events in the city. It's been a major venue for regional indoor and outdoor functions. Obviously, we have a lot of traffic that comes here for events. There is a Buddhist temple and about 20 homes right here in this neighborhood. So the closure of this bridge has required some residents to have a detour of up to 1 mile. So it's been pretty inconvenient for the last few years. And of course, the reason why we're here today is to announce that we have funding to help replace this bridge. Now, this project is going to be a local-state partnership, and before I get into those details, I just want to bring Steve Natale to the podium because he's been advocating for this ever since this closed in 2007. So this project is going to cost about $150,000, and in these tight fiscal times, for a bridge that is this important to the city, I actually think it's nothing short of a miracle that our state rep has been able to champion to get this money through. And of course, we have a great team in place here with our regional delegation, working very closely with Lieutenant Governor, who's going to be speaking later on today. But I think that the project success in terms of getting the funding, which is typically the hardest part, has been because we've had consistent and strong advocacy. Because we know that our delegation has not forgotten all the projects here in the city of Fitchburg that require attention and assistance. And this is just one of many, many projects that we've been able to receive assistance, but we're going to just talk about this project today. So the reason why this works, again, strong delegation, but also, second, I mentioned local-state partnership. Our DPW Commissioner Lenny Laxo is here today. Also our new superintendent of the streets, congratulations. Gary Withington is on board. They are going to be doing the labor on this project, and the state is going to be providing the funding that is going to be used to provide materials and other ancillary costs such as compliance, traffic, demolition, and so on, that is going to make this project happen very quickly. So I want to thank our local DPW for their involvement in this project, but most of all, because we know that this is the most difficult part, I want to thank our champions for the funding for this project. That was really that big and final piece that's going to make this happen. So our local champion here, Steve Natale, our state representative, I'm going to have him speak to this project first.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to say very few words about this. This is an important day, obviously, for the residents of Scott Road and Richardson Road, but also certainly the city of Fitchburg. This has been, as the mayor mentioned, the bridge has been out for 3 years. It seems like longer than that for people living in this area. So, but you know what? It speaks to something even more important, and that's the partnership between the Patrick and Murray administration and certainly the city of Fitchburg. This is the result of an unprecedented amount of bond bills that the legislature, Senator Flanagan, myself, as part of, but also with the administration in providing these kinds of resources. So once again, I want to thank certainly Lieutenant Governor for coming out today, but also certainly Governor Patrick as well. And congratulations, Gareth. Just heard about that today. That's great. And Lenny, thank you for the work that you're going to be doing to get this to happen. And it'll be a great relief for the people living in this area. So again, I thank you. I thank the mayor as well. And let's go get this repaired and open this road up again. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, I mean, this is just one of the many beautiful vistas that we have, bridges that go over rivers. We've had a lot of projects by our riverways, and I just want to thank Tom Stark, who's head of our Conservation Commission. He's been with us every step of the way, championing for ordinances and championing for projects, but also making sure that we protect resources like this. So I just want to thank you, Tom, for being here today and for being so supportive of projects like this. Next, I'd like to bring up Senator Flanagan. I have to say that it's been absolutely wonderful having her in the state Senate. It's great to have a representative and a senator who are working so closely together, because that's what we really need to make projects happen, and that's what we really need to make sure that North Central Massachusetts is really put on the map, and that we're not forgotten in terms of all the funding needs that happen around the state. So, Senator Flanagan, if I could thank you, would ask you to come up and also introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everyone for being here today, especially Lenny and your team, and Tom, and certainly Councilor Salamito. But I think as we stand here today, we can see how one small bridge can affect the lives of so many people. And the fact that we have the Lieutenant Governor here today to announce the funding so that we can help the city of Fitchburg open up this bridge, we're really opening up another part of the city. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do in a time that we've been dealing with such economic uncertainties. As the Vice Chairman of the Transportation Committee, I have the opportunity to work with transportation projects across the state, and I can't tell you how dedicated Lieutenant Governor Murray has been to North Central Massachusetts and to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in getting the infrastructure in place, and knowing that this small project is going to be open for years to come. So this one small step that we're taking today is going to have such an impact for many years and many generations to come. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do as a legislative delegation, is provide that certainty for people, that we're working hard. On the way here, I'm sure you saw Ashby State Road. We're trying to get as many transportation projects as we can done. We have the train station that we've done. We have the train project moving along. But I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for all of his work and for his patience, as I know that I've knocked down his door numerous times to talk about transportation. It's really important that we have someone who understands what it's like to have simply 20 houses on a road that can't get through because of this bridge, or to have Siam Park here where so many functions are held and that people have sort of a roadblock. And this is also a public safety issue. We want to be able to get public safety to go wherever they need to at whatever time they can. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here today and introduce someone who's had such a dedicated response to North Central Massachusetts, our Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray.
Thank you, Senator. Let me just say, for too long, North Worcester County has been neglected and forgotten by people in the corner office. And one of the reasons I ran for Lieutenant Governor was to make sure that places like Worcester County were not forgotten. We've seen the price of neglected infrastructure in our region because of the Big Dig, because of the cost in paying for the Big Dig. Chapter 90 funding, which comes through to cities and towns, has been impacted. Money that comes to cities and towns to take care of roads and bridges. We saw, because of the cost of paying for the Big Dig, that the state fell behind on ordinary maintenance of its bridges, its own bridges. We saw, because of the cost of the Big Dig and the mismanagement, the fiscal shell games, that the state didn't have sufficient transportation dollars to partner with cities and towns and the private sector in modernizing our transportation infrastructure. And what we have is, and what we're trying to remedy, is 600 structurally deficient bridges approximately across the state. Trying to fix, state highways and municipal roads that have been neglected. Rail across Massachusetts, which has been neglected. And what we have been able to do, Governor Patrick and I, working with people like Steve DiNatale and Senator Flanagan, is to make progress in addressing those decades of neglect. $200 million between state and federal money for rail, for the Leominster Fitchburg line, addressing a number of the different bridge projects in the region through the Accelerated Bridge Program. And so this is, I think, a testament of what we're trying to do. And I think it's important just to give a sense of numbers. 61% of the Massachusetts bridges are over 40 years old. And as I mentioned, this neglect has resulted in nearly 600 structurally deficient bridges. But our administration, as Steve DiNatale mentioned, is making progress. We passed a whole bunch of bond bills in the first 3 years of our administration. The Accelerated Bridge Program is a bond bill that addresses our structurally deficient bridges. The Transportation Bond Bill, addressing our railroad and our road and bridge infrastructure. And a part of, and what is
paying the state portion of this here today is the state bond bill, $150,000 that Steve DiNatale, excuse me, and Jen Flanagan pushed for. And I want to just make sure that everyone is aware of the truth in Fitchburg. Steve DiNatale did not hurt his foot playing softball. It was kicking down my door so that then Senator Flanagan could walk in with him. But that's the type of advocacy that's taking place. They are connected with their local communities. People like Joe Salamito, the mayor, and with Tom and others, talking and interacting, the mayor and her team in terms of what are the priorities. And they have made this a priority. As a former mayor, I understand what happens. For 4 years, this bridge has been closed. This impacts the public safety of the people of the city of Fitchburg and the region. It impacts quality of life for the homeowners and businesses in this region. It also impacts business in that the longer it takes people to get to work or move goods and materials, that costs money as well. So we are making progress on the neglect, the deferred maintenance that we have inherited across Massachusetts. And to give you an example of that, we are spending, excuse me, more this year than was spent at the height of the Big Dig. The difference is we're spending it in every region of the state. And I'll give you some figures that in 2007, Massachusetts infrastructure in our roads and bridges was $515 million. This year, through the Accelerated Bridge Program, through the Transportation Bond Bill, and then you layer on top the smallest portion, we are spending approximately $1.1 billion in fiscal year 2010 so that we can do things like today. Fix roads and bridges, modernize our rail, and when we improve our transportation infrastructure, it creates jobs. There will be people working on this. This will make this region, in another way, more attractive for people to invest and grow a job. And through our investments on roads and bridges, in terms of the job numbers, through our investments in roads and bridges in the Commonwealth, there are currently 385 projects taking place across Massachusetts. That's 10,000 jobs. And these are jobs that are here in our communities and puts paychecks in people's pocket, which are then spent locally. So I want to thank the mayor and her team for working so closely with our MassDOT to effectuate this agreement that will allow this to go forward. And again, it is just a pleasure to work with Steve DiNatale and Senator Flanagan and the people like Joe and Tom and others to make sure that we're all elected to represent the same people. And I am particularly proud that on this project and a whole host of others, we're making sure that Worcester County and North Worcester County are getting its fair share. Because for too long it didn't. Because people in the corner office didn't understand the needs of this region. They weren't in this community listening and working with the private sector and working with local leaders as well. So this is a great day and a lot more to do here in North Worcester County in the city of Fitchburg.
So because we all have one very common goal today, and that's to get the boot off of Steve DiNatale, we're going to close this press conference, but we're going to open up for any questions that you might have.